have mentioned several times in the past 2 episodes the importance of self-awareness and also of reflection, self-reflection. But I'd like to maybe give a few more details, no, for our and last episode. First, what are your sources of information about knowing yourself as a learner? Okay, of course, yourself. That's the most important source of information. You need to reflect and you need to come up with your own answers. You know yourself best. But you can also get a critical friend, meaning you will ask somebody whom you trust and who will really give you honest feedback, to be the, someone you can go to ask for information about how you're doing, and be very critical but objective about it. So also feedback, third, feedback from the people you work with, especially your teacher, because all of us have blind spots. And so we need to get somebody else's view of how we are as learners. Then, of course, the next question, other than sources of information, is what information am I looking for in trying to know myself as a learner, no? So always take a pause and then think about your learning goals. Remember, last episode, we talked about having to set some learning goals. So think of your learning goal and where you are now. But also think about what things you're doing in your learning that are either getting you to that goal or hindering you from getting that goal, or have you gotten stuck somewhere, no? And so, in other words, the information that you're looking for about yourself as a learner is goal versus reality gap. Okay, what is the gap between my goal, my destination, and the reality, my situation now, where I am now? So that's going to be a very valuable data that you need to learn about yourself. And then there are 2 levels that you have to think about when you start thinking about how am I as a learner, okay? So first, what is that big gap? On a macro level, how am I as a learner? What things come easily and what don't? What are things I need to know that I am generally poor at, and what am I good at? When and how do I learn best? Tapos may call to action tayo dito, no? So what now? And then think of the micro level. In this subject or in this assignment, given what I know and don't know, given my resources and current situation, how likely am I to be successful at this task? How can I approach this task? And then very quickly, why is it important to be an empowered learner was your second question. Well, research studies have shown that certain practices that we talked about are really beneficial. For example, goal setting. It really works, no? And also, I was thinking, so many young people want to be treated like adults. Well, being an empowered learner, thinker, worker is part of adulting. So you want to be an adult, there are privileges and perks, but there are responsibilities too. And one of this is, being an empowered learner. The other one is so many young people want to discover who they really are. And, so part of this is being an empowered learner. Come very technical here. I hope that's okay, because what I'm going to share with you are strategies that have already been proven to work by research in cognitive psychology, which is a psychology about how you learn, and in neuroscience. So that's also the like looking at the brain and studying the brain so that you know how the brain learns. And so in these 2 fields of science, these practices have been shown to work. They may have some technical names, but it's actually easy to do. For the teachers who are listening in, there's a very good summary of this in the blog of Jennifer Gonzalez called Cult of Pedagogy. The first is called spaced practice, and so that's the technical term, but it just means space out your studying over time. So for example, you have a test on 5 chapters of your books. Wag yung one night 5 chapters, no? That won't work. First, you'll have a headache, you won't be well, and you can't sustain that kind of studying. So, ang spaced practice, kunwari, chapter 1 tonight, yun ang pag-aaralan mo. Tapos, tomorrow night, chapter 2, but when you study chapter 2, also review chapter 1 quickly. Then on night 3, study chapter 3, but review the highlights of chapter 1 and 2, right? So that's spaced practice. And it has really been shown to be very, very effective. And this can work for one whole quarter or semester material. Let's say every weekend, review some previous material from beginning of the quarter, maski tapos na yung test, i-review mo para pag finals, madadalian ka talaga. Another one is called retrieval practice. This is easy to do in traffic, waiting in line of the ATM, let's say. Practice recalling information without your notes or your book in front of you. This is very, very powerful and effective because when you study with your notes, you tend to think, alam ko na yan. And actually, you're reading it, you're skimming it. You don't know if you really know it. No? So this is almost like you're giving yourself a practice test. So close the book. What is everything I can remember? And believe it or not, you'll start remembering a lot if you do this often. Third is called elaboration, and then you can also add concrete examples to this. This means try to explain the material in your own words and add details, add examples, add some connections to other things you've read before. So try to elaborate, meaning explain but add details. The fourth is called dual coding, which just means combine text and visuals. Nako, magaling kayo dyan, no? I know that many of you do some kind of sketch noting, flow charting. Ang galing-galing ninyo dyan. So never mind if your drawing is not nice, but add text and some icons. And actually, you can use all of those together, right? And this is my tip: work smarter, not harder. So think of the task. What are the expectations of the teacher, okay? So for example, I have a teacher who would let us read lots and lots of like long chapters and long articles. But she just always asks us for 3 highlights and some questions. So, why stress yourself out? Read it as best as you can. Use the things I suggested to you. And then concentrate on what are the highlights. She's always after the highlights and some questions. So engage with the content. Think of what is expected. Make it personal. I need this. I'll need this. I'm excited to use this. I'm excited to learn this.